Good morning, everyone. My name is Flicker, and I had some interesting dreams because of this fucking video. I stared into the abyss properly, and oh joy, did it stare back. Hmm. Ugh. It was interesting to see my brain have a dynamic dream where I was pretty cognizantly aware and not all that absurd. So it focused heavily on social dynamics instead of actually being about adventure or whatnot. And I already got my dailies done yesterday night, but I wanted to check in and see what I could grab from people who probably got on later than me. Oh, nice. 7 thumbs up. Coolio. Mm. Really? Did trials and a whole bunch of other things. But yeah. No, it wasn't. I'm trying to figure out how to access the mental space that causes my dreams to turn out the way they did without necessarily having to fall back to sleep just to re-enter a perspective of dream. Meaning, it's been something I've been working on for a good while now. Because I have a clear distinction between dream memories I gain while dreaming, and memories I gain while awake. They operate on the same core system, but they have some kind of filter tag to them. Hmm. Hmm. There have been several moments throughout my life where my mind has looked at something, comprehended something, and instead of invoking an emotion directly, it just makes me cry. Like I'm looking at something I'm not supposed to psychologically. The video that I showed from last night that I watched definitely did something like that. I stared at the substance of the universe and it stared back. Tyler's blade isn't around. Okay, it is. It's just growing it. And or barely there. In the ways I was looking for. Hmm. Hmm. Let me think. Hmm. It'll be nice when this Radiance event is over, because sure, it's giving me more dark light, more dark dye. At the same time, it's also making it difficult to collect cyan light without getting a whole bunch of green. Collect any kind of light without getting a whole bunch of green. No, many different intersections of my life, memory-wise, happened throughout that dream once I got past the eldritch and psychological horror aspects that were gently invading it. I swear, a good portion of trying to sleep was just me processing that eldritch level entity influence, comprehending more of it. Aw, bugger. My fun was ruined. Let's have the bird. Bird voice. Or yeah, no, cyan isn't showing up nearly as much with this Radiance event ongoing. So there was classroom trying to read along with a book that had multiple character perspectives. Chill Vibes was sitting next to me as classmates, which is interesting in and of itself. I struggled to find the page number proper. Ironically enough, I could read the page numbers of other people's books and keep in mind a single word in terms of title scale, which is interesting because usually when you're dreaming, words and everything blur together, becoming incomprehensible and shifting every time you take a look. And there was some mention of my usual nickname, Flicker. Confusion about teacher. It was a public social environment, so I didn't get any quippy I didn't put any quippy comments in, even though I technically could have, or could have tried to. Because it just wouldn't have really ended well, or it would have just been like, too much of a social signifier. For me to navigate around. Hmm. 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 My mom and dad were in the dream. The scale and setting of the dream definitely fluctuated between my dad's house, the outside area in front of it, dynamic environments that my mind probably scrounged together from other things I've seen, a school environment, and then right back to that one spot in my dad's house. But it was a specific room as an extension of a school environment rather than actually being my dad's house. It was just the furniture arrangement and the visual dynamics that were the same between. Oh, because there's a sofa, then there's a recliner. And I was able to help someone hide from someone they thought was trying to hunt them down to get them in trouble. But really, it was just a security officer and or like semi-strict attitude person who was just trying to give them back their stinky hat. And yes, it was literally stinky in the dream. I couldn't smell it, but they definitely made but the information was definitely there, and it was funny as fuck. Because they had also appeared in the same classroom as when we were trying to read that book earlier. It was an interesting experience to have my mouth closed and not trying to be speaking, and yet words slipped out anyways, and other people in the dream heard them. And I was like, ah, shit, no, 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 no. And then the weirdest fucking part of the dream was that I kept on losing my fucking shorts towards the end. And it's just like, eh? Eh? And most of the people in the dream respected it, but there was that one person that practically very much didn't. And it left me sitting up wondering confused and leaving them sticking out in my mind as a dream character. As a character from that dream. There was definitely multiple storylines overlapped and blurred amongst each other, because there were the interactions with my mom, dad, and family-related things. Then there were the school-type interactions. And then there were like the adventure absurdity scale type interactions that were definitely of a different orientation in perspective and focus than the other ones. Oh, come on. You just had to. I'll take the cyan increase. Alright. And it's exactly because my brain is trying to get so much information and pull a proper fetch request on that last character who kept trying to take a look at me, even though while I was trying to put back on my underwear and shorts, and it's just like, I'm flattered, but at the same time, girl, no. Please respect me as a person first. Then we can worry about other stuff later. Oh my goodness. Ah. No, there was definitely some insect attributes, bee related, but I can't. That was like an aesthetic level association rather than a portion or body shape association. Definitely bipedal. Ironically enough, when I was trying to talk to that character, the wall behind me disappeared, and the perspective shifted as if they had walked out of the room, but I could still see them mentally. Purple towel blanket covering myself while I'm trying to get my clothes back on. Hell, there was one instance where, in trying to get my clothes back on, I'm like, why am I shirtless? And then I put on my underwear and my shirt reappears, and it's like, okay, dream logic, thank you. Uh, no, the thing that stood out about that character was that A, their audacity, B, their curiosity, and see their level of respect. Because, sure, they were still being very audacious and bold in trying to get a look at things, but they were standing a good distance away. They were within clear line of sight and not trying to creep around to pretend like they weren't looking. And it seemed like more of a casual curiosity rather than an excited or intoxicated curiosity. Something more socially relaxed than horny or energetic in the horny sense. Hmm. I wouldn't be able to draw that girl for the life of me, but like some other girls in my dreams, they've stood out. Let's see, one time there was a girl in one of my dreams where we were playing a card game. I looked at the card I placed down, that was just placed down, saw it was the fucking girl, looked up, and the girl just fucking smiles and says something around the lines of remembering or her own name, and I don't remember it by the time I wake up. Purple hair was definitely there. It's just like, interesting. Are they over there at Grandma's? Yeah, they're over there at Grandma's. Okay, might as well get a few extra candles. Mm. 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 Then there was the dream of that one evil machine where everyone was kind of trapped inside and trying to live within. That was semi-sentient, semi-trying to, like, consume or twist everyone who got trapped in it. I don't remember when or by what order I had certain dreams chronologically is too much effort and too much work to be worth it. Because I'm always going to be I'm always going to have some part of me that's second guessing myself. Door skip. Thank you. I'm not gonna use it because, well, I don't want to use it. Mm. Mm. On the processing of eldritch concepts and the psychological corruption, distortion, or subversion in relation to the video and how it brought those concepts up. King in Yellow. No, the level of psychological awareness, even in the level of psychological subversion, even in the midst of deep awareness of there being something, definitely. How one's own morbid curiosity can be turned against them. I feel like morbid curiosity and paranoia as concepts sit about next to each other, or at least within one or two concepts of interlinkage, which creates an interesting perspective. perspective and the potential dynamic for how they interact and connect with each other. Because they're definitely two distinct concepts. If they weren't, then you wouldn't have two distinct presentations that differ from each other enough to have entire video essays and entertainment categories being made around them. Yeah, no. Trying to pack up things as if I was in school and I had didn't have a backpack, but I did have a bag. And the concept of my first crush does live in my head rent-free still, but her concept has been intermingled with other concepts by this point, and it's not accurate to the real person. It was interesting to see a dream with a school-like environment where even students were participating in, like, organizational and regulation activities. Like making sure people knew not to do X, Y, or Z while in the crowd, or while lunch was in session. The fact that my perspective shifted from, like, characters within a story to where the characters I had previously been observing the perspective of became a story that we were talking about and trying to do homework on in class is an interesting detail. Yep, there is a candle pile. There is not a candle pile, but there are a few candles here. Hmm? Oh, you. Interesting on that end. Hello, noisy one, blinding one. Goodbye. like it when it's a pretty even spread like that. Hmm. Yep. Brain switched gears from thinking about the dream I had to considering a concept and the struggles I've had around said concept. Hmm. There's one part of me that feels deeply uncomfortable in trying to navigate around that concept because of the possibility of the authentic, real dense stork not actually liking me in the slightest, thinking nothing good of me, even if it's not by. And that's to the degree where it's not like by a choice or chosen misunderstanding that they use as a cognitive protection to keep themselves distant and to use me as an excuse. Now, of all the negative attributes and things I've thought about them, why have I thought of those attributes? And would they actually be accurate, or would they just be me projecting my own repressed attributes onto someone else? So there's always the chance of that. That which we find frustrating or annoying in another can be the very thing that we actually secretly wish to express within ourselves but fail to, because we don't think we actually have that attribute or that capacity available to us. Mm. Because on one hand, there's a curiosity from me towards the concept of that dense dork and the fictional dork that lives in my head that isn't going away anytime soon. Which means I'm probably never going to see that dense dork again. If they are as I think they are. If they are as I think they are, oh, we could probably bicker all day. But still somehow care about each other. Yeah. Like, sure, that's connection, but holy shit, that's like one of the most bittersweet and shallow kind of connections out there. No, thank you. Ugh. What would I want to express if I knew I wouldn't be judged or ashamed of it by that of someone else, regardless of if it's them or not? Love you. Hope you're doing well. Really fucking wish I had done better. But I did not want a social contract with you under those circumstances. Not in the sense where we are both having to pretend that things are okay when they're not. That each of us is fine around the other, when no, neither of us are. You deserve respect. By damn, although my idea of respect may be different from yours, I still wish to give that respect. Then there's the line about, oh hey, you know all those things you think we did? Nah, we would rather kill ourselves than cross that line. Fuck off. The shame and toxic shame we felt around our desires is what was expressed through our writing, primarily. Let alone how we couldn't rein in those desires to properly treat you as just another person or a regular person until you felt like opening up to deeper or more dynamic interactions. Because that was a personal goal of ours on this end. And it frustrated the hell out of me that my own desires could be the very thing that could keep me from actually getting to know someone that I care about. But, like one video essay pointed out from when talking about an episode of Rick and Morty, of all places, sometimes you'll never be able to get back into the space in which you may have once been able to meet up with and authentically get to know the person you're interested in, exactly because your interest in them is disproportionately scaled to their interest in you, and they would not feel comfortable because of it. Long story short of how I got to that conclusion is basically Morty runs into this interesting person, cute girl. They get to know each other. They just have a nice casual interaction, breakup, a relationship, all of that. Goes through some horrible things only to end up being there to keep not only himself and others in the plane crash alive, but her as well. And then by the time he gets back home and everything's chill and things feel just right, his dad presses the rewind button. And it sends him all the way back to when he first met the person he was so deeply in love with. And every time he tries to redo things over, every time he tries to interact or get to know that person again, to share the genuine connection that had been built, it blows up in his face because the connection still exists on his end, but it doesn't exist for the other person, and he hasn't grieved the loss of what that connection was to be enough to be able to hold space for where things currently are. Even if he wants to be there and be a part of their life, he can't. Not from a lack of care, but from a disproportionate scale between everything. To stay calm, polite, respectful, and tactful, even with heavy feelings of admiration, connection, and otherwise, is easier said than done. Because if there are characters in anime who pull it off, then by damn. On the outside, it looks very noble. On the inside, holy shit, it hurts. Holy shit. Especially when you would make the time for those conversations with someone, but they wouldn't make the same time for you. That's, I think, where it hurts the most. You can eventually get over the fact that they don't like you like that. You can eventually get over the fact that what you dreamed of or what you thought of as potential just isn't going to exist. But to know that you want to hold so much space and be there so deeply for someone and face the reality of them not wanting to be there for you, it hurts. It hurts like hell. And yet, just because we are deserving of things does not mean that they are ever owed to us. Gifts are not debts. Relationships are not obligations. Choices matter exactly because they are a form of communication in and of themselves. I told the dense stork to block me permanently, not because I was ashamed of what I'd done, but because I was ashamed of not being able to self-regulate well enough to handle the pain and respect them as a person deeply and thoroughly at the same time. I wasn't able to control all the desperate communication impulses. Hell, I'm still barely improved on that front, as is. Sure, I'm not part of their life, and I know I cannot communicate with them, but that doesn't mean the desire is gone. I haven't gotten to a solution that resolves that desire while acknowledging and processing the very feelings that spark it, that don't allow for a coexistence of two bitter truths that are intertwined in mutual understanding as opposed to dynamically clashing against each other as they rotate the same direction but grind against each other's gears. You can lose someone and know that they are still alive. I don't know if the dense stork is angry with me because I drew a line, because I destroyed the fiction or whatever. All I know is they're still angry with me. And I have to live with that. I miss who I used to be as well. back before I completely crashed out over my own feelings of overwhelming attachment towards someone who barely even knew me, who barely even opened up to me. I miss the days where I was just not processing this. Not having it pop up in my mind day after day after day after day. I miss that sensation of safety, of just trusting myself to hang out as a friend. To try my best to just hang out as a friend. Even if that friend wanted to bring up uncomfortable discussions and everything. Just she cared. But I can't afford to care in the direction of the real person. Can't afford to express it or even bother trying to be around other people I care about too often for fear of that dense dork thinking that I'm focusing on them. Nothing has changed in terms of the limitations I'm still facing. The only thing that's changed is, well, it's weird. I know what's changed, but I can't put it into words. If I try to phrase it as availability of joining and hanging out with friends, then that puts blame and shame on the dense dork, but that just uses them as an excuse of discomfort for me not joining on people I care about. And that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to learn how to let them misunderstand me and fucking move on. By all means, that's kind of the whole point of me struggling still, is trying to accept that someone I care about will fundamentally misunderstand me, potentially for the rest of their entire fucking life, and there's nothing I can do about it. Trying to accept that is hard. Painful. Like rubbing your heart into a cheese grater. No, I miss the sense of safety I felt around that person. I miss the feelings I wanted to give to them. I miss the curiosity of wanting to see if any of what I thought of them is true. But just because I miss those things doesn't mean I get to be a part of their life. Doesn't mean they owe me a damn thing. It doesn't mean they have a free pass to just show up and try to be friends again. Things got pulled back to zero, regardless of if either person wanted them to or not. And until I can meet them at zero, without expecting anything of them, or having any desires that they could miscommunicate, misunderstand, or, fucking use as an excuse. Until then, and until they're willing to meet at zero, the real person might as well just not exist. So I'm left to sit with this confusion and pain. Trying to just grit my teeth together and push through it. And I have made progress. Holy fuck. Hurts. Oh, the most bitter piece of irony is that if I ever got to know them in the way that I want to, if I ever got to treasure them and share the feelings I wanted to with them, I'd actually probably calm the fuck down to the point where they would end up anxious about the relationship in and of itself. Wherein once my own safety and ability to know that they'll be there would kick in, my own avoidance and own personal issues would also kick in a non-anxious way, and where I trust and respect them as a person and know that I have space to communicate, I have space to reconnect, to repair, and everything. Be it as friend or as otherwise. Because otherwise it's just a fantasy. There's no point in pursuing it if it isn't built on a real relationship of friendship. I was selfish in how I handled things. And I would want to say sorry to them for that. For choosing to just not flat out trust them. For not trying to communicate. No, I did try to communicate even past all my struggles, but unfortunately my struggles warped and deformed the words I wanted to say. My own fear of pain warped the very things I wanted to share and express. You know, until I can sit with that pain, there's nothing there. So long as it's not pain under false pretenses, yeah. Forgotten. Yeah. Oh, that is a what if that has haunted my mind repeatedly to the point where I haven't been able to kill it. Why is your dream for the future to crush the popular kid? Like, yeah, I get some of them can be shallow and definitely toxic, but... Oh, geez, no. Social butterflies are just as much a part of the social ecosystem and economic ecosystem as anything else. You do not get to wipe an entire social species off the map just because you decide so. Stop that. No, what if that mentally has haunted me and tries to really its damnedest to pull me back into delusional headspace that's disassociating from the moment? A combination of dark and bright shadows overlaying my mind's eye to where I disconnect from the present? Would probably be the one where it's like they actually reach back out and they actually express feelings of attachment. Because my reaction to that would be like, okay, who put you up to this? Are you on a bet? What the fuck is going on? Do I need to go punch someone in the face? My goodness. Like, who put you up to this? No, there's the pain of having your heart rubbed up against a cheese grater on its finest setting. And then there's the ache of missing someone who you treasured to begin with. Even if they're still alive, even if they don't care about you in the same way. I guess the issue I'm having is learning how to accept that pain without letting it overtake my life and keep me from moving forward. How to face it and stay in control of myself without wasting my time in thoughts of what never will be. They could show up expressing a million different words of love, and I would immediately be very concerned and going, okay, who put you up to this? Why are you doing this? What the fuck is going on? Because this isn't you. This isn't the you that I saw, and this isn't the you that I can trust. So are you in your sane mind? At all? Why the fuck would you come back to a mess that's me when you think so fucking negatively of me? I may know my own answer to that same question, but that doesn't mean that I can expect to hear that answer from them without running a risk of getting caught in delusions and lies and manipulation and otherwise. Because what I imagine someone to be is not the limit of who they are. It's just a reflection of my own perspective on what I can see and interpret of someone. I do not know you or your core definition, so I wish you well. Because I tried to show you mine and you didn't want to believe it. Though, to be fair, that is absolutely reasonable. Oh. It's ironic in it being if I knew I had the safe space to hold uncomfortable and serious discussions with them as a person, I'd be a lot more self-regulated. That would be a level of trust and safety that I don't feel like I have at all. Similarly, if I were to somehow be able to keep calm and self-regulate even without that space, they'd probably feel safe enough to actually hold that space. So it's a catch-22 that has no method of resolving if both people don't put effort into it. As far as I know, they don't want to put effort into it because they don't see me as valuable in that way. So I cut the line on the floor instead of trying to pretend otherwise. The harsh advice of those who love you rots within this house. Those fun day by day, watching as your mind decays. Said that you'd keep moving on, but you're afraid. Fucking damn. Okay then. That's something I haven't run into very often. And I have had happy moments. I have had moments where the pain isn't there. But until I can fully separate what is from what if, or what could be, then I can't trust myself around them. Not in the sense of not being able to hold, not in the sense of holding space in the way I want to, as a friend. So I do believe that is darkness, so I am going to go, what is the range at which I pick it up? Okay. And the pain inside your head, and without me you'd be dead. And the reason why you'll never disappear. Yeah, I'm still here. Now, giving permission to someone I deeply care about who can do direct emotional and psychological damage to me to misunderstand me is a terrifying process to try and complete. Because if things had just ended at me losing contact with them and moving on socially while still having a safe space to call home, that would have been fine. It was the pain of losing everyone else that hurt the most. And so my brain's associated that emotional pain with the decision I made. That's not something you can logically overcome on a whim. You have to emotionally work through it and be able to acknowledge where things overlap and hold space for yourself, if not ask for that space from others. And I don't feel like asking that space from others very often, if at all. Because this is a mess I got myself into. I feel like they should know me, so it makes it more difficult to recognize that they don't. It makes me frustrated, annoyed, angry, irritable. Because what seems obvious to me isn't obvious to them. And what seems obvious to them isn't obvious to me. One of the core reasons why I wanted to be able to have that talking space without pushing forth personal demands or expectations onto them. But because I felt like they were already feeling pressure, like they were already perceiving personal demands and expectations and assuming such things, I just didn't bother. I didn't bother trying to hold that space for long, because it's like, if you're just going to misunderstand everything I say, everything I try to do, what's the point? What's the fucking point? Oh. I'm pretty sure they'd be able to hold the same sentiment towards me. Because if I'm going to overreact to any little gesture of openness and expect more out of them than they're willing to give, then what would be the point of them putting effort in either? If I just continue to misunderstand them, it doesn't matter how much I care about them. What would be the point of us actually trying to getting to know each other? Fucking, you had a candle right in front of you. Why did you start wiggling that fucking candle that you were holding like it was a tail? I'll never understand the priority order of this game. And that's okay. I don't have to. If I can't be there for the actual person, then it doesn't matter how much I love their potential. Because if they don't feel accepted and respected, then why should they put in any effort at all? Being humble means being truthful. Yeah, no, definitely. Doesn't make it easier. Doesn't make it any easier. Doesn't make it any easier. So it's still. And yet, it's still worth doing. Yeah, that's my choice. Part of me wonders if they're angry at me because I called them out on one of their issues when no one else has, or no one else was willing to be as fucking, hey, you might want to work on that. I wasn't able to present it in a calm and reasonable way, so they probably just fucking dismissed it. Yeah. Hmm. Nope. Oh, jeez. Those are some heavy words right there. Regardless of the situation that they are spoken in. Okay, in most situations where they're spoken with it, where they're spoken earnestly and sincerely instead of casually, those words hold a lot of weight. Hold me until I find the nerve to face that which I fear, to struggle and reach for that which I don't believe I am worthy of, or otherwise. Please, hold me until I find the nerve to do what I want to do. Without letting fear, shame, or otherwise find me into an action. From personal experience, one of the hardest things to do when you see someone you care about panicking or struggling is to just be there and hold space for them. Because on some level, you want to be able to help them feel better. You want to be able to problem solve it until they're feeling okay. Sometimes that's not the answer. Sometimes people just need the space to sort it out for themselves instead of expecting you to handle everything, which is what makes it so difficult. And you don't know how to hold that space and respect and trust even when you're uncertain. Yeah, no, if the then Stork messaged me out of the blue, I'd be like, alright, who put you up to this? Why? Do I need to go punch someone? This does not seem like you. So what the fuck is going on, and do I need to be concerned? There's a part of my mind that keeps on wanting to try and puzzle things out to find a solution. But it's not the majority anymore. It's still sizable enough to where I have to vent pressure from that direction every now and then. But for the most part, the majority of the decision and the energy towards personal decisions is in that of accept reality, treasure what we can, move on. There's nothing left for us there. Even if we wish there was. Hmm. Alright. Trim some off the top of green. And that's about it for everything for here. I'm gonna keep on trying to understand what I saw of the person, but I'm not going to be a part of their life. I'm only going to have a simulated idea of them living in my head rent-free. And once the disconnect between the two is complete, I won't feel so scared anymore. They won't be able to use that what if, that idea of what I thought things could be, to try and steal my attention or my heart when I don't trust them with it. And I won't be surprised if that's a similar sentiment reflected from the other side of the glass. Hope you all have a good day, good night, whatever time or non-time it is. And if it isn't good, if you're feeling stuck, lonely, confused, isolated, struggling, or just ugh, well, I hope that things either get better for you, that the chaos at least stays manageable out there, and or that you find a ledge to rest, recover, and reflect on. So that way you can vent your feelings without hurting yourself or others. We're all just trying to climb this mountain called life one step at a time. So we might as well work together, hey? I'll see you all later. This has been my waking morning thoughts and all the things I guess I kinda wanted to process out loud.